right, gang, Math 1700. Struggling with the voice a little bit, so excuse me. A couple of complicated problems here. Really, the first one's not that bad, and now that I say that, but just want to kind of get the blood pumping to the brain on these two problems, so or at least on this second problem. So I'm going to start out with something a little easier. What if I were you at this stage of the game? What I would do on both of these problems? There's only two of them, but the second problem is going to take a while to work. So it's probably not going to be an hour video, but it'll be, well, I don't even know. We'll see. But if I were you, what I would do is I would stop the video right now. I've uploaded this worksheet to Blackboard, so you're going to have that. I would print it out or whatever, and I would try working the problems on my own, and just get some feedback where you are, and then I don't know. I think that's just more conducive to learning than propping up your feet and watching a video. But anyway, do whatever you want to do. I'll never know anyway. The first problem says a couple wishes to borrow money using the equity in their home for collateral. A home mortgage will loan them up to 70% of their equity. Now, guys, first of all, and I'm pretty sure I've covered this in a previous video, equity is just the difference in the value of the home minus what you owe on the home. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to find the value of the home, what they owe on the home, and then it looks like that they'll give up to 70% of the equity. So it's really going to be a pretty easy situation with the TVM solver. So it says purchased their home 8 years ago for $251,760. Now it doesn't mean they took out an 8-year loan. It just says that 8 years later. What they actually did is 8 years ago they signed a 25-year loan, so they still have 17 years remaining on this purchase of this home. So first thing I would want to do is I'd want to put everything into TVM solver and calculate the monthly payment. I really, I'm not asked to do that in this problem, but I'm going to need to do that, or I'm going to need to have that in my calculator so I can find the balance after 8 years. So the value of the home and then what you owe on the house, in this case, it's going to be 8 years later. So I'm going to put the information in here and, see what happens. So go to apps, go to finance, go to TVM solver. Guys, the lighting is kind of wacky here. Let's see if I can get this a little bit clearer for you guys. I can see it fine. I don't know if you guys can. I think that's actually better. Okay. So again, when we put in, don't get caught up in the fact that you're looking at this 8. This just says that 8 years ago they signed a mortgage of a 25-year mortgage. It's kind of like somebody who bought a car 5 years ago, or I'm sorry, a year ago, but they have a 5-year mortgage. It doesn't mean they, I hope you guys get that. All right, so the 25-year mortgage means we'll do 25 times 12 right here. All right, our interest rate is 8.8, which is a little bit high, but 8 years ago it wouldn't have been that bad. Now, the present value, what did they pay the house? They bought a house of $251,760, but they were required to pay 10% down. Now, the way I do that is I take the $251,760 and I multiply by 0.90. So if it's the equivalent of taking 10% off and taking away from the home. And I'll actually show you why that's the case, okay? So after they paid the 10% down, they financed $226,584. Now, let me show you why that's the case. If they buy the house for $251,760, and they have to pay down that amount times 10%. Well, I've got essentially two terms here, so I can factor out to 251,760. Now, 251,760 goes into 251,760 one time, and then 251,760 goes into 251,760 times 0.10, negative 0.10 times because of the negative right here. Well, I think it's clear now where I get to 0.90. Okay? But anyway, let's go back and set up the problem. We want to pay off our loan, future value. Again, the eight years has nothing to really to do with it. It just says that the second part of the problem will use this 8 years. But we're just trying to set up the initial part of the problem. So we want future value to be 0, and we want PYCY to be 12. Now, I come back up and I calculate my payment like we've done before, and you can see this is going to be a pretty big payment, $1,870 per month. Plus, guys, always remember, you've got your taxes, you've got your insurance, you could possibly have mortgage insurance. So, owning a home is more than just obviously paying the mortgage. Okay. So, now, the only reason I did that, again, this problem doesn't require me to calculate the payment, but I want to be able to calculate what the present value of the home is now. Now, what I can do is a couple of things, and this is kind of cool, actually. I think I've shown you this before. If I go Y equal and put in the balance option, so I go to apps, I go to finance, and I come down to BAL, which is near the bottom, and put that in just as a function of X. Now, if I come up right here and look at my table set, which allows me to work my table. So if I come up and go second function table set, I can start at 0 and I can go up by the year. Now, what that's going to allow me to do over here in table, it's going to allow me to look at the ending balance after each month. So after the first month, these people reduced, what is that, about $209. They reduced their principal. Now, gang, it's tempting to just come down to 8 because 8 seems to play a role here. But the role 8 plays is 8 years, not 8 months. This is in months. We calculated in TVM Solver, which transfers into table set, which transfers into table, where X is the periods by which you're making payments. So we need to come down not to 8, but to 8 times 12, which is 96. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not in the mood to really scroll down all the way to 96. So I'm just going to start this table at 90 and then just scroll down to 96. I went too far. So, gang, the present, how much they currently owe on the home is $197,619. So back here, this part right here is $191,000. What did we say? It was 619. No, 197,000. 619. Okay. Now, the other part is the value of the home is given in the problem, and it says the net market of the house now, again, 8 years after purchase, is $325. That's pretty cool that the house has gone up. Excuse me. That the house has gone up almost $75,000 in 8 years. So that's it's really weird about the value of houses. It's not really as much the value of your house It's the value of the houses around you that are comparable to your house that have sold. We have a situation in our neighborhood. Tanya and I considered selling our house a few years ago, and we have a house that's sold right up the street from us that really isn't comparable, but because this neighborhood we live in is kind of desirable, not many people sell. Well, the people that sold up there were getting a divorce, and they just wanted to sell and just get out, and they sold it just dirt cheap. I mean, absolutely dirt cheap. Something like 80,000, which is probably $250,000 less than the house that we have. But so when we went to get comps, because there really wasn't anything to compare to, they used that comp on that house, or that selling price on that house. So our value of our house came down drastically. So when we say value of house, it's kind of weird that it's really not the value of your house. It's the value of the houses that have sold around you that are comparable. And if you're in a situation like me where no houses have sold, they grab the first thing that they grab whatever they can get. So that's a little tangent here. So guys, anyway, our equity in this problem would be the 325,000 minus the 197,619. Okay. So they have an equity of 127,381, but the lending agency here is only willing to give them 70% of that. So guys, finally, what they could do if they're wanting to buy, get this for a trip, it'd be a really nice trip. They could get, what does it say, to the nearest dollar right here? Yes. So what they could get 89,167 home equity. Now they'd still have to continue to make the payments on this home that they purchased 20 or 8 years ago for 25 years. They still have 17 years that they've got to continue making those payments, but they can cash out on that equity at almost $90,000 if they wanted to. Who knows what it could be. It could be take a trip, buy a car, pay tuition for college, adopt a child. I know a lot of people that we adopted with used equity in their home to adopt a child. You could adopt about 3 children for that amount of money. All right. Saw something on Facebook the other day I thought was pretty cool. Of course, I don't even know if I've told you guys that I have, my daughters are adopted from China. I saw something, and I probably won't get this right, but it says something to the effect that adopting one child won't change the world, but it will change that child's world. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, number 2. A person purchased a house 12 years ago, okay, but 12 years ago they signed a 30-year mortgage. Now, guys, this is a harder problem. And this is really the problem that I would recommend you hitting pause or just exiting out of YouTube altogether, but putting down the time that you are now so you can come back and won't have to listen to my stuff again. But try this problem on your own. What would you do if this was a situation where you were trying to figure out? So anyway, what we're trying to do, we're trying to refinance. So you can see that 12 years ago, they signed on a $350,000 house. They paid 10% down. Signed a 30-year mortgage at 9.2%. All right? So interest rates have really dropped now. They're down to 4.2. They say if your interest rate ever drops 2%, you should reconsider refinancing. I have a better rule of thumb there. My rule of thumb is sit down and calculate it and see what happens. So here's what we're going to do. We want to refinance the unpaid balance. Now, this isn't a situation where we're taking the unpaid balance like the previous problem and going and buying a car or taking a trip or, adopting a baby or whatever it may be. We're actually taking the unpaid balance and we are refinancing it. On the previous problem, that couple there was going to have two payments. one for the house that they still owed on, and one for the home equity loan that they were taking. This one will end up with just one payment, and we'll figure out how much they can save by refinancing. So, guys, at the end of the day, what happens here is you are comparing two things here to find out how much you save. Now, I've worked problems like this before where you find out you don't save anything. It actually costs you more to refinance, okay? I don't think that's going to be the case here because of such a drastic difference in the interest rate, a decrease in the interest rate. But nevertheless, what you're going to compare here is what you would have paid if you did not refinance versus what you would pay if you refinance. So, guys, essentially, that's what we got to do here. All right, gang. let's just kind of divide this into two columns, kind of columns of what if. What if we did not refinance? Well, this is what we'd have. We would have bought a house for 30 years, made 360 total payments, at 9.2% interest rate. We purchased this house of $350,000. Must be a nice house. And they paid 10% down. So I think from previous problem, I've, well, anyway, I hope you understand why 0.90. Always come down, check them. You have PYCY right, and we do in this case. So I'm going to come up and hit alpha green. So the payment's going to be $2,580.02. So the payment is $2,580 in 02. All right. Now, to find out how much they would have paid, all I have to do is multiply that by 360. So they would have, wow, isn't that crazy? That they would have paid $928,000, almost triple the amount that they, wow, that is crazy. So they would have paid, goodness gracious, $928,807. That's how much they would have paid. That seems absolutely unreal. Let me make sure that I got. I know it's a lot. That 9.2 is a big interest rate. Okay. Yeah, we got it right. 2580.02 times 360. Make sure I didn't do anything goofy there. 2580.02. Okay, that's what it is. Now, what would we pay if we refinanced? All right. Now, this turns down to be two separate problems. First thing we got to do is we got to figure out how much we paid over 8 years. And the next thing we got to do is we got to find out how much we're going to pay over the new 20 years that we're refinancing at. Now, this part's really easy. How much did we pay over 8 years? Well, we paid $2,580.02 times 8 times 12. No, 12 years ago. My bad. I'm stuck on the last problem. I didn't think that was right. Right up here, a person purchased a home 12 years ago. Okay, so you guys are probably screaming at me, Darbo, you've lost your mind. So 12 years ago, how much over the past 12 years, how much have they paid? Because that's something we have to consider. So times 12 times 12, so times 144. So they have paid a total of 371,522.88. Now, we've got to see now what they're going to pay when they refinance. Well, the first thing we got to do on the refinance is we got to find out how much they owe on the bank currently after the 12 years. Now, guys, you obviously can't just take that and subtract it from 350,000 because you got interest in there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and what is it, 12 years again? And I'm not going to use the table here. I'm just going to go in and grab the balance key and put it in the home screen. And I'm just going to do 12 years times 12 months. So their house is decreased down to owing 350,000 minus the 10%, whatever that turned out to be. It was 35, so I think it was 315,000. They've reduced the loan down to 271,874.69. So that's going to be their starting point for this new loan of 20 years. So they're going to have 271,874.69. And I'm going to make myself notes here because there's going to be so many values going on that we're going to have to, keep the work organized. Okay, so 271,874 is going to be our start. Now we got to put it in our calculator and get this going. Okay. So now we want to sign a new 20-year contract or 20-year mortgage. So 20 times 12. But this time we got 4.2. And now we're refinancing our house at 271,874.69. We're still doing monthly payments. So I need to come up here and find my payment. So guys, they've dropped their payment from $2,580 down to $1,676. They've dropped their payment almost $900 a month. Now they've got to make this payment for the next 20 years. To find out how much they pay for this house total from here on out. So 1676.30 times 20 years times 12 months a year. So they're going to pay $402,312 for the second part of the loan. So if they refinance, they will have already paid $371,522.88 after 12 years when they're starting to reconsider whether or not they should refinance. So they already paid that. There's nothing they can do about that. They paid that over here too. They just also ended up paying the next 18 years, or 12. They signed a 30-year mortgage initially. So over here, they would have paid the next 18 years at the 9.2. So they would have paid another, what is that? 550,000 more. So you can see it was advantageous to refinance. So I need to take the total amount they would have paid this way, subtract out the 371. Subtract out the 402. Guys, the difference has to be what they would have saved. If I can put this in my calculator without doing something goofy, we should be able to get our answer. So it looks like to me that they could have saved over $150,000 by refinancing. So it was advantageous. Something really cool to think about here. And this is what I would have done if I'd been in this situation. I would have said, okay, I signed a 30-year mortgage. I got 12 years. I've already paid 12 years. I've got 18 years remaining. I would refinance this down here instead of 20 years. I would refinance it 18 years because I'm prepared to pay that anyway. And by cutting your mortgage down 2 years, well, let's just see what it would have. And also, your payment's going to be higher because you're cutting it down to a lower number of years. But typically what happens in the real world is you get even a lower interest rate the lower term that you go. So if they had gone the 18 years, and that's exactly what I would have done. I would have gone 18 times 12. And let's just say the interest rate was 4.2 and still financing the same amount. Now, your payment's going to be a little bit higher. It's going to be $1,795.94. Got a lot of numbers going on here, but I'm just kind of adding something in extra. So that's the new payment. So if you paid that for 18 years, you guys need me as your market evaluator or your to oversee your home finances. Okay, where are we? 387. Okay, so look, you saved from the 402, 312 minus the answer. You saved another $14,400 just by keeping it the same as what it was anyway. Now again, 30 years, you paid off 12. You were prepared to go 18 more. So why go 20 more? Why not go 18? And if you could really stretch the budget, keep it down to 15. Now, what's really a cool problem, and it'll come up here in the next video, what if we kept our payment what it was? We can lower the interest rate. The payment back here, I forget what it was, but just keep making that payment. That's where you save a lot of money this way. Refinance for whatever you want to refinance for. Refinance for 20 years, set the payment up, but continue making the payment that you're accustomed to making. But because you're making it at such a lower interest rate, you're going to pay that loan off much, much, much quicker than the term of 20 years. So that's going to be a kind of a cool problem and I actually may put it up, another problem like that up here this week. I don't know. It just depends on my free time. Guys, that's all I got. Refinancing, again, from 9.2 to 4.2 was clearly advantageous for this person in this situation. Guys, have a good one.